We are closing in on the others. Let's connect. Obsitons Obesus will approve. We shall be at the center of chaos, and Ellen Trackend is the first step to ultimate victory. All worlds shall fall, the shadows will reign, and the green ball will be used to reach our goal. All hail the chaos! All hail the awakening! All hail Obsitons Obesus!
Welcome to the Quest for the Green Ball! Òrdugh Truaillidh! And what a week 5 it was. We had 2 high-scoring battles, some big wins by 2 of our divisional leaders, and also still have 9 teams within a game of each other, and 1 division with all 4 teams within a game of each other. So yes, we're hitting a crucial stretch of games for many teams coming up, and it won't help that injuries continue to happen to superstars and big names. Persevering through the byes and injuries can be a daunting task for even the best coaches. So picking the right players each week will be even more important now. But how did we even get here? With fireworks, that's how, and this includes our last where my Gaiscioch Sluaghs traveled to take on the defending champion Elite Mother Tuckers at Gaiscioch. Wow, what a matchup. This was billed as a rematch from last year's Green Bowl, and both of us didn't disappoint when it came to monster games and overall points. Ups and downs throughout this matchup with some wild swings, but it was the defending champs who got the better of my Sluaghs once again, 129.68 to 119.48. Travis Etienne was a monster in London with 184 yards, 2 scores, and a 2-point conversion. He proved to be one of the key differences in this one, along with Gabe Davis, who had 100 yards in a score in London. Matthew Stafford also had a couple of TDs, and A.J. Brown easily outdueled Devontae Smith. But due to some monster games on the other side, with Justin Fields passing for 4 touchdowns on Thursday night and George Kittle reaching the end zone 3 times on Sunday night, this one actually came down to Josh Jacobs on Monday night. And it took nearly the whole game for Jacobs to finally clinch it for the Mother Tuckers. Jacobs had a big 20-plus yard rush late in the third quarter, but was still just a fumble away from giving the lead back to my Sluaghs. Jacobs put an end to that possibility, though, by scoring early in the fourth quarter. Both highlighted players also did well, with Devon Achane going off for another 165 yards and a 50-plus yard touchdown where he sprinted 75 yards to the end zone, One sad thing, though, is Achan apparently injured his knee at the end of this game and will be out a few weeks, possibly going on IR. A big blow for my Sluaghs, who are expected to get Austin Eckler back from injury this week. Elvin Kamara had 97 yards and a score for the elite Mother Tuckers for another solid performance to limit the advantage of Achan.
Going into this week, it started off rough. Thursday, decided, you know what, I'm just going to give Gabe Davis a try and bench DJ Moore. Unfortunately for me, DJ Moore ended up putting up almost 50 points and got me way behind schedule. Kept grinding away. My players kept going at it, kept checking the fantasy scores, making sure that, things were going up as they needed to. And then Sunday night, out of nowhere, I get a tight end who normally scores 3.7 points a game, scored 24 against me. I thought that was going to be the last straw. However, I still had Josh Jacobs going, and after his very, very slow start, I ended up being able to pull out the win because of his nice 24-yard run that he's had at the beginning of the second half, and then adding on the touchdown afterwards. Overall, I think this is great win number 2 for me. The season hasn't gone quite the way I wanted it to go. However, maybe we're about to get on a streak here and start to roll. Really, just a great game in general, and this is why we get into fantasy, for things just like this.
And the game of the week wasn't the only significant result, with one big upset and another high-scoring thriller that came down to Monday night. Let's check out all these matchups in the best of the rest. In a Peaks of Valk and Flatlands of Skell crossover match, Air Jordan hosted first place Bandidos del Rio at the Caves of Brun Diomir, and Air Jordan is winless no more with a huge upset over the Bandidos, 81.18 to 75.64. David Montgomery had another big game with 129 yards and a score, and Stephon Diggs collected 121 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp also returned to the lineup and gave a big boost with 118 yards. The Packers' defense was very key, though, with 4 sacks and an interception, ended up being the difference. The Bandidos had 2 scores from Patrick Mahomes and from Sam Laporta out of the flex, touchdowns from Travis Kelce, Chris Olave, and Alexander Madison as well, but it wasn't enough. Air Jordan improves to 1-4, while Bandidos del Rio falls to 3-2. Loki Lebowski Thor traveled to take on the Siamese Dreamcats, and some disappointments and a late inactive on Monday eventually hurt the Dreamcats in a 95.52 to 61.24 loss. While Lebowski Thor needed this win and did enough with Jalen Hurts and his 303 passing yards, 72 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns, 136 yards by Kellen Ridley, and a big 20-point performance by the Steelers' defense, the big thing is that he has another key injury, with first overall pick Justin Jefferson likely headed to IR based on reports. This is the 3rd player to go on IR for Lebowski Thor this season, with Mike Williams and J.K. Dobbins already being ruled out for the year. It didn't hurt here, though, as the Dreamcats' lone highlight was 2 touchdowns by Kirk Cousins. Both teams are now 2-3. The Multiple Scoregasms hosted Green Acres in a big matchup between Peaks of Valk and Wetlands of our own squads. Green Acres is now one of the top teams in the league, though, following an 89.86 to 77.1 victory. Tyreek Hill had 181 yards and a 50-plus yard touchdown, and Dallas Goedert came alive for 117 yards and a score. The Scoregasms still had to live without Saquon Barkley and had a couple of highlights. DeAndre Hopkins had 140 yards, and Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Addison both reached the end zone. Some major points were left on the bench for the Scoregasms, though, with George Pickens and the 49ers defense. Green Acres is now alone in first place in the Wetlands of our own at 4-1. The Scoregasms fall to 2-3. In our other thriller of the week, Remember the Titans hosted the clash at Demon Head at the Gaiscioch of the Highlands. Remember the Titans survived 124.84 to 122.66 due to a horse collar tackle by the Raiders on Monday night that kept Christian Watson out of the end zone. That literally was the difference here. Breece Hall finally came to play and had 194 yards and a touchdown, and Jalen Waddle and Puka Nacua also reached the end zone. The Saints defense had a monster game with a shutout and a touchdown to go with 3 forced turnovers and a couple of sacks. Jamar Chase was a beast for the clash at Demon Head with 192 yards and 3 scores, and Josh Allen also reached the end zone twice. Isaiah Pacheco and the Jets defense also scored. Remember the Titans now leads the Peaks of Oak division at 4-1, and the clash at Demon Head fall to 2-3. Finally, Risky Business hosted the Stellar Bitches, with us wondering what was going to happen here with the wild ups and downs for both teams. Well, Risky Business had the bug this week as the Stellar Bitches won 88.16 to 53.02. Both teams lost their quarterbacks to injuries, with Anthony Richardson being the most concerning for Risky Business, as he might be missing multiple weeks. Raheem Mostert reached the end zone to get back on track, and Bijan Robinson also scored to help the Stellar Bitches. Cole Kmet and Tajay Spears also scored, and it doesn't hurt to get 25 points from your defense and kicker combined. Touchdowns by Christian McCaffrey and Marquise Brown were the lone highlights for a very low-scoring game by Risky Business. Both teams are now 3-2. And if you thought the standings were going to get a big kick in the mouth this past week, things are only going to get crazier as we continue through this out-of-divisional slate of matchups. Tomorrow we'll preview some huge ones coming up, with all but one of these matchups featuring teams separated by just one game yet again. We will also check out the next game of the week stop at the Abandoned Villages of Bonanock. Before you go, check out the latest league standings. Until next time, salut.